There's a very plausible scenario China does nothing. They've been promising to take this island for years. They don't have to do it. And that's a very realistic scenario. Let's really hope that's what happens, because I would argue it's the best outcome for the world. We need to contemplate the other scenario. What if they do decide to take the island by invasion and or maritime blockade? And I'm here to tell you, of all of Biden's foreign policy positions, and it's the one he's most misunderstood on, is whether the U.S. will defend Taiwan militarily. And I'm here to tell you we will. We will absolutely go to war over Taiwan. The United States will go to war. And we will go to war, partly, Biden has said it 4 times publicly, by the way. He said after the invasion of Ukraine it was very intentional. The reason we'll defend Taiwan militarily is a world in which China takes Taiwan. They become much more advanced technologically overnight. But even more importantly, they will control the Taiwan Strait and much more of the South China Sea. The United States will never allow that to happen. An analogy that we use quite a bit, but Taiwan has really becoming the Israel of Asia for the United States, if you think about it. Israel is a thriving, prosperous democracy, putting aside what the current head of state is trying to do on hijacking the judiciary. But Israel is an absolutely vital, critical ally of the United States in the Middle East. It is a thriving democracy and very prosperous, and it is critical for maintaining the balance of power in the Middle East for the United States and the West. That is what Taiwan has become. Taiwan is a critical military, prosperous democracy, but critical military and strategic ally for the United States and the West to maintain the balance of power in Asia, and we will do whatever it takes to maintain that. And lastly, our allies in the region feel as strongly as we do. If we go to war, it will not be the U.S. alone. It will be South Korea, the Philippines now, Japan, very importantly, Australia, and not the EU. Macron and others have made it very clear they will not be with us in this effort, but we need to be prepared for that. I think people really underestimate the Biden administration on this issue.
We go to war with China. What does that mean, Charles? This is not going to be a tactical war where, we take a few token troops and they do the same. It will be an escalating war that will lead to I think, a catastrophic nuclear confrontation between 2 superpowers. So I don't think we can just, casually throw out the fact that, yes, we will be macho and we will defend Taiwan and we will go to war. What does that war mean? And again, I go back to my basic point. Are we thinking strategically, effectively about our confrontation, whether it's economic decoupling or geostrategic decoupling with China?
Let me answer it. Here's what I would say. 2 things. On the war itself, if it happens, because, again, there's another scenario where it doesn't, but if it does, our administration and our intelligence services genuinely believe it will not be nuclear. They think the CCP is too rational for that, and they do not think it will be nuclear. We do not have that confidence with Putin, but we do with the Chinese. It may be totally misplaced confidence, but that is an absolutely consensus view within the White House and the Pentagon. It will not be nuclear. It will be kinetic, but not nuclear. I'm not saying it is better to not have a nuclear war, but I think that just to make that quick point, the last thing I would just say, though, to answer your question is we need to be thinking about the unthinkable, right? And we live in the world of the unthinkable. I always say this, if you had a friend who went into a coma 6 years ago, woke up today, and you said, hey, by the way, in the last 6 years, Donald Trump became president of the United States, he or she would be like, you're out of your mind. That was impossible. It was unthinkable. He did. He was actually, and you could, say he was a really bad president. The person who woke up may agree with that, but in the end, a Republican president started a trade war. A global pandemic hit and 6.8 million people died. Totally unthinkable before it happened. Russia invaded Ukraine. On February 23rd last year, the global consensus was Russia would not invade. Literally, the global consensus. They invaded. NATO has been expanded as a result. If you told me, if you were in Sweden or Finland a little over a year ago, it would be unthinkable, right, that they would join, rush into the arms of NATO. Japan is remilitarized. Unthinkable. The U.S. is engaged in industrial policy. Unthinkable. So to assume that the United States can't go to war or wouldn't go to war, it's unthinkable that they would go to war over Taiwan. I think we just have to really look at where we are today, how much the world has changed.
We need to do something that we haven't done in a long time, and that is think.